I'm sharing some facts about Freemasons, which I learned from a person who is personally acquainted with some of them. So, there are currently over 5 million Freemasons worldwide. This is according to official data. In fact, the numbers are very underestimated. To become a member of the society, which is possible even in Russia, you need to find two active Freemasons, who will take responsibility for you, so to speak. In addition to that, you'll need to pay dues. You're going to be shocked now because in Russia, that amount is no more than 60,000 rubles. After that, you still have to go through the initiation ritual. For this, you will need to lie in a coffin for one night. Pushkin and Dante were Masons, and when Pushkin wanted to leave this society, it was organized by everyone. The famous duel happened because you can't just leave the society. In our country, the history started with Peter the Great, and he sought support from Isaac Newton, who was an influential Freemason. The emblem of the USSR depicts symbols, a secret society. All the most important global decisions are made by the 20, which are the highest, so to speak, Freemasons, about whom even those at the bottom are unaware. And even if you somehow manage to join this secret society, you'll only have 1 degree of influence, while that high 20 has 99 degrees.
Well, basically from the position. Exactly. Not a very high, so to speak, member of the Masonic Society. She says, absolutely right. Well, I mean, from what I know about this topic, the entrance fees, those very entrance fees, are not high. That's true.
Entrance fees, right?
Entrance fees.
Next, as far as I know, there's a geometric progression there.
Well, it depends, as they say, on what level you're at. So essentially, these are some little payments that you make so that the whole organization thrives. So it's like a kind of subscription to the Freemasons. What do you have? The higher the level, the more you pay. A higher subscription price. Well, what else is there to comment on? 2 people. Well, most likely. Yes, most likely 2 people. Regarding the coffin, that's probably how it is.
Most likely, yeah, let's definitely look at it from a higher perspective.
Listen, these are just minor organizational things. Well, I mean, if you take books about the Freemasons, there are actually countless books on this topic. So they really write more about these 2, saying that at least 2 people have to vouch for you, that you need to spend a night in the coffin. And there are slightly different stories about the coffin in different branches. It's like you have to die for the old society, for the old world, and be reborn into a new world. I'm just saying that these are just minor organizational things.
But these could all just be tales. But you and I filmed the same thing, actually.
That's just solid. Regarding the coffin. Regarding the 2 people in some branches of the Masonic orders, that's definitely the case, 100%. They themselves wrote about it in their books if it comes to that. I'm just saying that as I'm talking about this right now, I feel like it's not the same everywhere. It's not everywhere. So it's not in all branches, right? And the most important thing is that it doesn't really matter in relation to who the Freemasons actually are. So it's just a kind of ritual. In terms of initiation, it can change a bit, its form can change, and so on and so forth. Here, it would probably be more interesting to discuss how actually the Freemasons influence everything. Well, I mean, how to find yourself in the midst of the Freemasons, including like that, yes. In Russia, we have officially recognized Freemasons. We had an official person, I forgot his last name, who didn't hide that he was a Freemason. He wanted to become the president of Russia. He ran for office, from the Masonic Lodge, as they say. He wanted to become part, Yakaz of the Supreme.
But they didn't literally write that in the election ballots, did they?
He talked about it everywhere. Yeah, that was about 10, 12 years ago, but he never hid that he was a Freemason. So the Freemasons, in fact, at that level, they don't really hide that they are Freemasons. Let's say someone like Kobzon, for example, or Kobzon, or Leshchenko, whoever from those. Anison, yeah, Kobzon was a pure Freemason, as far as I remember. He, again, didn't hide it, but that's not really important. This part, actually, I just know that many people are concerned about these ones, details, introductions, and so on. Actually, it's a kind of game that can be played in many different ways. You can be in a coffin, or you might not be in a coffin, or you can have a branch, I don't know, like a coffin-shaped bed or something. That's not really important. That's definitely interesting. It's a certain egregore. It's a certain support for certain traditions, among other things. Yes, no, that's right. Of course, I mean, full respect to them, at least for the fact that they are real. For so many hundreds of years, they have been honoring their certain traditions and origins. But the most important thing here, especially in this reel, is that phrase that Freemasons control everything without anyone knowing. Freemasons do not want certain history in the world will not happen.
And not all Freemasons, but the top 20.
The top 20. If you don't mind, I would like to emphasize this.
Of course, let's go.
Look, again, we've talked about this many times. Any management is done from top to bottom. Freemasons are no exception in this regard. There is a top tier. The Illuminati have a top tier, and the Freemasons have a top tier. In principle, I'm closely acquainted with a person who is right from these circles, and he describes pretty much the same thing. So Freemasons, Illuminati, or anyone else, it's a network, as they say, of small. So like these clans, right? Or a lie. For the Freemasons, these are separate, like these, yes, branches, Masonic branches. The Illuminati have separate clans, let's call them that. Each of these branches, each of these clans has its own hierarchy. It's kind of, yeah, a network here. And the higher-ups in these hierarchies have contacts with even higher outer hierarchies. And essentially, it's a pyramid. Both the Freemasons and the Illuminati, it's a pyramid. And when you enter, that's when you pay. So these are, let's say, 60,000 rubles or however much. But it doesn't really matter. But 5, you see, you're basically just playing a little bit in this game because you have no real power. That's why she mentioned the 5 million Freemasons in the world. That is, 5 million people in the world is the population. Norway, I think, along with Sweden. So that's already a country. So that's a country. Naturally, no one there has, as they say, any obvious power. Yeah, the very top. The rest are just some kind of interest club. And up to a certain level, you won't be getting any super secret information. I'll say more on our channel. Here, you'll get much more secret information than at many levels of the Freemasons. Starting from a certain level, yeah, there is some real power, a certain influence. This applies to both the Freemasons and the Illuminati. But as I said, management always goes from top to bottom. So this upper management, it is just a little. And it has a lot of power overall, the lower levels. But above this higher management, there is another level of management. And this is what I always talk about in all my videos. We have a release on this topic. It will be somewhere here. I always talk about this everywhere. So in reality, the Supreme Mason, I'm pretty sure they know about this because it's like this. When you climb a mountain, at a certain point, it seems like the horizon is close, right? But when you actually get to the top of the mountain, you see that the horizon is much further away. It's the same when it comes to the Freemasons. From some, let's say not the lowest level or maybe a middle level, you think, oh, the Freemasons, there are like 20 of them. And most likely this is the person who told her this. The guy who was telling the girl about the Freemasons, he was definitely not one of the 20. I'm more than sure of that. And he probably does see those top 20 Freemasons as just those guys. But the problem is, and this is very clear from the higher level, I mean, there are a huge number of other governing levels above the Freemasons. And above the Illuminati, there are a huge number of other governing levels. And the highest governing level is what we call the architects of planet Earth. And the architects of planet Earth, that's really the power that governs neither the Freemasons, nor the Illuminati, nor the rulers, nor presidents, but rather the architects who shape the branches of reality. Exactly like this, so that, so to speak, it was easier to implement things here on the ground. Certain things. Let's take America and Trump and his team. It's a well-known story. It just sounds like it's coming from every kettle. as they say. What did we see? We saw that there was a certain clan in America, that not only in America, he oversaw the entire planet, the whole thing. He oversaw, in essence, the entire Anglo-Saxon world. What clan? Certain branches, let's call them Masonic and Illuminati clans. These are the very clans, that is, I even remember some of the names, but I just don't have the right to talk about it. But everyone who needs it, everyone knows about it. And again, the name is not the point. The point is that they really are. They controlled the world. They had a certain vision of how to move forward, where to go, and they moved in that direction, actually starting around the end of the last century. The middle of the last century, but quite actively at the end of the last century. And now suddenly Trump comes in. And so we have this story about how that the Democrats, it turns out, are just an empire of evil, that they violated everything possible, that they sponsored and carried out orange revolutions. After all, they are now openly talking about it. They say our previous administration sponsored and carried out revolutions, supported terrorists, supported, Al-Qaeda, which they themselves created, and supported. And as if all this, in fact, everyone knew about it, everyone talked about it. But the fact that they officially acknowledged it, they officially brought it out, that yes, guys, our previous administration really did create complete chaos all over the world. Absolutely. Yes. And Trump comes and says that now we won't do this. That means now we are good, peaceful, kind. That means we are against gays, lesbians, all that. We throw all that in the trash. We're firing all transgenders from the army. We're removing them completely from sports, more just completely. Now there won't be any more men in women's sports. So on and so forth. Then Vance arrives at the Munich conference and speaks directly to Europe, saying that Europe, you are the empire of evil, not Russia and not China. You are the empire of evil. Yes, and what you fought with the USSR, and now they themselves have become even worse than USSR. Well, it's clearly a struggle on the surface. Two clans. You mean which ones?
Is it the Masons and the Illuminati?
I'll put it this way. Two clans, one of which supported, let's say, the old world order, and the other clan that supports the new world order. I'll be honest, I don't know if it's the Masons or the Illuminati. I haven't even looked at it once from a higher perspective. Because that's not the point. The essence is something else. The essence is that from the perspective of the higher level, the very first thing you see, what becomes visible, is that above both of these clans, there is that supreme management of the planet.
Those very architects we've already talked about, who are pulling the planet up in vibrations. Look, the architects are immediately above the Masons and, let's say, above the clans. Or is there some kind of intermediate layer that there are the heads of the clans and then there's someone else, and then there's the architect?
Yes, of course. So these others, who are they? There's definitely a certain layer. Listen, that's an interesting question too, because I don't see this picture as a single unified thing, like we've captured it this way, and it will only be like this. Basically, what is fixed? The ones that are fixed are the architects. So these are high souls, really high ones that don't incarnate here, who are guiding the planet in a certain direction. Well, that is, they are building a certain rule of the game here on this planet, so that the souls who come here to this planet play this very game exactly in that one that is currently set from above. Yeah. Well, all the executive levels and everything else except for this very top are the executive levels. These executive levels can change, they can be rearranged. So conditionally, yes, there are a number of no buffer executive levels. Some of them are disembodied parts, while others are, on the contrary, embodied here. There, for example, in certain clans, in the Illuminati, in the Masons, in the Rosicrucians, in some order of Tula, among the followers of the order of Tula, in some, I don't know, including governmental organizations like the Bilderberg Club and so on. So these are all intermediaries who step by step carry it out. This higher, so to speak, will. And these intermediaries can change like cards in a deck, constantly shifting the degree of your influence. That's the essence of it. When you build a certain branch of reality, you use the forces that work most effectively. It's precisely with this branch. And at some point, roughly speaking, the Masons rise a bit higher. At some point, the Illuminati rise a bit higher. At some point, they become some kind of religious organizations, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, or someone else. The Pope at the end, or the Dalai Lama, for example, or someone else. So at every stage of the life path, life is always multifaceted. It can be like this, or it can be like that. It's flexible. At every stage of the life path, things change. Yum, 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 as they say, a leader who will lead us forward. And this is where I'm getting at. Actually, right now, everyone is happy that, well, Trump, yeah, but in reality, Trump is also a certain step. This is the old step. Just 2 years ago, I was writing about this pile of texts, the old step. It has, so to speak, died out. It was simply no longer needed, let's say, by those higher up guys for achieving the goals and objectives that are moving us as a planet. So it was useful. Well, at a certain stage, it was actually useful during the Soviet Union. This might be a separate topic. When the Soviet Union collapsed, oddly enough, it is a very interesting topic. When the Soviet Union collapsed, in fact, that old bipolar system, so to speak, also fell apart. They didn't realize it right away. By then, so to speak, this catching up wave reached closer to the year 2000. Seeing all kinds of financial crises, seeing all kinds of political crises. And in the end, everything collapsed. And then came Trump, who said, guys, we have made the entire Western world resemble the Soviet Union. Now we will behave completely differently.
Let's talk about the Freemasons. We're really leaving.
Let's go. And this is just important. It's important. Because the Freemasons, in fact, aren't that important, as it may seem to the viewer, the architects, and their plans are what really matter. This is really important. Everything else, whether it's the Freemasons, the Illuminati, or anyone else, they're just cogs in the system of architects who are, so to speak, carrying out their will, whether they want it or not, whether they know about it or not. And actually, this information is all that the viewer needs to know about the topic of the Freemasons.
Look, people usually divide into two camps. These are the ones who are afraid. Oh, the Freemasons, the Illuminati, they're going to do something to us and so on. Or the second camp is made up of those who, on the contrary, are interested, like, oh, how do I get in? How do I connect with these Freemasons and so on? So, what would you advise these two people, hypothetically? To be afraid, not to be afraid, to join or not to join? Well, hypothetically?
I would advise you to connect with your higher self, touch your spirit and try for yourself. Don't listen to what I'm saying. Don't pay attention to what other talking heads on YouTube are saying. Instead, independently connect with your higher self and look at how the world is structured from there. And what I'm saying right now, you'll likely see just that, but just not us. A little bit in your own colors. And if you manage to connect with the architects, or at least touch upon the architects and feel, well, where are they actually leading the planet? And why do they need all of this? Is this really necessary? As soon as a person does all of this, they won't have the need to be afraid. The Freemasons. Again, yes, the Freemasons are, well, I don't know, like pistons in a car engine. Well, I mean, it's just one part of it. The engine that moves the planet forward. Does a person feel afraid when they get into a car with pistons in their engine? Most likely no. The same goes for the Illuminati. The Illuminati are, hypothetically, I don't know, like a carburetor. Does a person fear the carburetor when they get into a car? No. These are just parts of one big thing. System. And becoming these parts, actually, when you saw a certain hole. That's also a question. If you see from a higher level that you really need this, and it will bring certain benefits for your goals and tasks in this life then of course you should go and become a part of it and join in. But if you see that it was just, as they say, from the ego to feel this kind of belonging to something so high and deep, then no. Of course not. So in that regard, I advocate for the foundation. Well, I mean, there's no point in breaking down pieces of this house. First of all, we need to see what the house is actually built on. And after that, you might not want to climb into that house on one hand, and on the other hand, you will stop being afraid of it. So, my friends, who wants to touch their higher self? I invite anyone who wants to try out all these techniques in practice and maybe even feel the architects. The links to the discount group are already below this video. Come on over. I'll be waiting for you.
Dear friends, I invite you all to my course with a personal vision, Return to the True Self. This course has been around for over 12 years. And recently we launched it in English with my complete personal vision in 6 modules, working with blocks, working with egregores, working with the ego, contacting the higher self. Answers to simple questions, answers to more complex questions. And then there's what we call the Great Journey. It's contact with space, contact with the planet, contact with God, contact with anything at your request through the higher self. Health, finances, relationships, purpose, past life. The course is available at any time. You can sign up for it using the link below this video. Come on over. I'll be waiting for you.